Hello there, team. Welcome to Next Level JJ. Now, you've probably opened this up because you're asking yourself the question, should you buy Marathon or not? Now, I've just invested over 30 hours into the Server Slam, and I could tell you it is fantastic. But maybe we have to answer a few questions, look a little bit at the history of Bungie and of Marathon as a game. So I put together a little agenda. So what we're going to look at is, firstly, are there any negatives? Then, as I said, Bungie's existed for a while, so we'll quickly tap into their history. We'll look at the Marathon lore. Then we'll look at the game and what it's about. I'll show some of the gameplay that I had. We'll then see how it actually made me feel. And then lastly, we'll answer the question, is it worth buying it or not? So let's get into it. Shall we talk negatives? Now, of course, playing the Server Slam has come out with a long list of negatives, and unfortunately, a lot of the people that gave these negatives probably only played it for like 10 minutes. A lot of the positive reviews that I've seen is actually people have reached like level 25 or something like that. I personally sunk in over 30 hours into this, and the strangest thing is I still can't stop thinking about it. But I thought let's quickly tackle some of the negatives. People mentioned slow pacing. I can say to you, it depends on where you're at. Sometimes you're happy to have a little bit of slow pacing, but trust me, there are moments where you can't breathe for 10 minutes, and then the pacing is insane. But also remember, we only have 2 maps in Server Slam. The full game will have much harder maps where it's probably going to be intense pressure from the get-go. People mentioned the confusing user interface. I completely agree. In the beginning, I had no idea where things are. But when you get to level 30, you do know where things are. But Bungie did say they'll be investing some time in improving that. Many of your extraction shooter games have the same problem. Now, people also said that the maps were a bit sparse and soulless. And again, I can see why they say that, but when you start investing a lot of time into these maps and you learn where are the points of conflict, like Hauler, you love it, you walk into it, there's such an atmosphere to it, and so I didn't find that to be true. But again, remember, I only have 2 maps, things are going to get more complex as we get further into the game. Now, people say, well, it's just another extraction shooter, and that is true. There are so many in the market, and for Bungie, it's a tricky one because of course, they could have just made Bungie 3. Oh, Bungie 3. I mean, Destiny 3. But they didn't. They took a chance. But what I found here is they took the best bits from other extraction shooters, from other looter shooters, and they combined them into a package that is, in my opinion, extremely good. All of the things you want and none of the things you don't. Your time from death to respawn is 40 seconds. Usually in extraction shooters, it could be 5 minutes before you're back into a game. And so, yes, I don't agree with that just being another extraction shooter. In fact, I think this will be probably one of the best extraction shooters. Now, people complained about the odd style, the art, the font slop. And in the beginning, I completely agree with it. Now, I did, however, find that the art and the style is completely different. It is unique, and over time you get used to it. And after it, you see the beauty in it, and it also tells a story about the game. It's very cyberpunky in some regards as well. But trust me, it is one of those things that, sometimes an oddly designed car looks odd. You look at it and you're a bit funny, but then over time it grows on you. And before you know it, you look at other things, you go, wow, that's boring. And I do think that that's what they're achieving here with Marathon. So trust me, it's going to get better. And then the last one, a lot of people said is, well, it's a mishmash of game styles. You've got this and this and this and this. And as I mentioned earlier, I think what they've done is they've taken a look at all of the extraction shooters and looter shooters and gone and said, what are the things we want? What are the things that we don't want? And they combine these into something where you can have a game that's 2 minutes long or half an hour long, and very, very few times you walk out of there feeling bored. And so I think they've done it the right way. For me personally, some negatives that I can mention that I've experienced in the game is maybe better map functions, definitely better looting concepts. I'd like a lot more space and things like that. But remember, this is Bungie we're talking about. They created Halo, for goodness sake. These people know what they're doing. And so I think what we need to do is we need to take a look at the history of Bungie. And maybe that'll give you a little bit of confidence on knowing that they can tackle the things that people see as negatives. And yes, Bungie has a long history. We have to wind the clocks back to 1990 to find the very first game they made. Most people that are watching this weren't even born yet. And so in 1990, they made the game called Gnup. Very humble beginning, simple black and white two-dimensional game. But the interesting thing happens in 1994. So a lot of people think that this Marathon is a new IP, when in actual fact it's one of the oldest IPs you can imagine. So in 1994 they released the first Marathon on Apple Mac. Now, interesting thing is that it's actually available for free to play on Steam. It's called Classic Marathon, so feel free to go check it out. In a few seconds we'll have a quick look to see what that looked like. But then in 1995 they released Marathon 2, and then in 1996 they released Marathon Infinity. There were also a bunch of other spin-offs, but as you can see, it was an IP that had some history to it. There's quite a lot of lore to this game. But then in 2001, that was the big moment for Bungie. They released Halo Combat Evolved. I don't need to say anything more. You all know it. It was huge. And of course, it was followed up by multiple other Halos. And it's then where they took a risk and they tried something new, and they brought out in 2014 Destiny. And again, one of those games that, everybody who played it knows it was fantastic. And then in 2017, they followed this up with Destiny 2. Now, Destiny 2 is fantastic. A lot of people have been playing it to death and they're bored of it, but there's a lot of people who still love it like it's the first time they've played it. If you've never played Destiny 2, I would highly recommend you go and check it out. And so a lot of people expect naturally for there just to be a Destiny 3. And this is where Bungie, again, takes a risk. They go, hang on, let's try something new. We don't want to become stale. And so, of course, they return back to an IP that's 32 years, and they fire up Marathon. Now, I thought, just have a little bit of fun. Let's go and wind the clocks back to 1984 and see what games looked like back then. And so here we go. As you can see, the graphics are pretty bad. Of course, this game's probably been developed and improved a little bit, just to make it run on modern computers. But I found it really, really fun and interesting. Firstly, important to know, the game is called Marathon, and it's named after the ship that we're currently on, the UESC Marathon. Something went wrong. So the question is, what went wrong? Now, as you can see, the gameplay is very 3D, 2D. This was the style for that back in the day. That's how it was. But I found that even, for something so old, I was sucked in immediately into the gunplay. The guns were interesting. The way they fired worked quite well. I think the map design was one of the key things that stood out for me, really. The map design is not just a run and shoot. There's complexity to it. There's a verticality to it. In some points, I really had to use a map to try and figure out where I'm going, because they've made that purposefully hard. Now, a lot of the things you look at this, you go, well, this looks like Doom. Well, to be fair, that's what all games tried to achieve back then, and that was no bad thing. Doom was a fantastic game. But here's the important lore bit. Today is 8:20. The Marathon came under surprise attack from unknown hostile forces. The Marathon has sustained serious damage. At 8:30, alien forces boarded the Marathon. The current situation is dire. All personnel are required to arm themselves and fight for their lives. And then we've got a message from Leela. Welcome to the Marathon. I am Leela, one of 2 surviving, wait for it, artificial intelligence aboard the Marathon. I've been severely damaged, and I'm working to understand the current situation. And so fascinating what actually happened here. But yes, so this game has this complexity around maps and showing you where you need to go to. But again, I found the gunplay, even for a game this old, was pretty cool. I had some flashbacks of Duke Nukem as well as I played this, which is really, really nice as well. But yeah, so really, really interesting, and I do look forward to investing a little bit of time into playing that a bit further. But okay, so now we understand a bit of the history of Bungie and how far back Marathon goes. Let's talk about the lore. And so, obviously, Marathon has a long and very rich history to it. So I thought, why don't we, instead of taking too much detail, just have a quick look to see where the new Marathon falls within the timeline of this game. And so, as we see, we have to go all the way back to the year 2472 to when the UESC Marathon is launched from Mars on its way to Tau Ceti 4. And so it takes us 300 years to get to Tau Ceti, and immediately we establish a colony. All is well. But then, and this is where the first Marathon game starts, in the year 2794, the Four invade the planet. And it's at that same time that Leela, that AI we just interacted with a few seconds ago, sends a signal back home to say something's gone wrong. But the problem here is we're so far away that signal takes 92 years to reach Earth. While this is going on, though, you'll see there that Marathon 2 kicks off with Durandal, and then we've got Marathon Infinity just after that. Then there's a bit of a gap. A big gap between the Marathon Infinity and where we are today. So you'll see post-Marathon Legacy, after the trilogy, in the year 2827 to 2886, there are anomalies that occur. The colonists are gone. There are these strange phenomena that are appearing on the surface. And eventually, as we said, after 92 years, that signal gets to Earth and it reignites interest in Tau Ceti. And that's where we find ourselves now in the modern day. So as you can see, modern era, the year 2893, the runners appear, and this is where we kick off for Season 1. Death is the first step. So, shall we have a look at what this game's about? All right. So now we find ourselves in the modern times. Now I thought the best way to show you what modern Marathon is all about is to simply watch the amazing video that Bungie created. Have a look.
Initiating runner defragmentation protocol. Evaluating shell integrity. Evaluating vital signs. Evaluating recognition response. Executing neurological subroutine. Loading memory packages. Liminal buffer status 26%. Assert. Subject is a runner. A disconnected consciousness inhabiting a bio-cybernetic shell. Assert. Subject's psyche was ejected from their body at the moment of their death. Assert. Subject's consciousness is preserved while a new shell is printed. Please stand by. Assert. Runners arrived in the Tau Ceti system after the investigation of a distress signal from the lost colony ship, the UESC Marathon. Assert. Runners are mercenaries, hired to salvage from the ruins of the human colony on Tau Ceti 4. Assert. Runners are hunted by the Unified Earth Space Council. Subject must deal with these threats at their own discretion. Warning. Cognition runtime error. Proceeding with suboptimal durability settings. Liminal buffer status 100%. Runner defragmentation complete. Welcome back, runner. This is only your mandatory support AI. Your new shell will be ready momentarily, and you will return to Tau Ceti 4 for your next assignment. Please prepare for consciousness transfer in 3, 2, 1. Initiate.
Yes, so there we go. Now we know what we're there to do and how it's going to work. And I find it such a cool way that they've gone for it, where you've got these shells and they only exist for a short period of time, but your consciousness goes into it. So, yeah, really well done by Bungie. Okay, so without further ado, let's go and have a look a little bit at the gameplay. All right, it's time to take a look at gameplay. Now, as I mentioned at the start, I've invested over 30 hours into the recent Marathon Server Slam. And I walked away from it feeling really, really excited about what's coming. But I thought what we'd do is we'd have a look at one of the games that I played and pick apart some of the key things that happens that is really, really fun to experience. Now, we zoom into Perimeter. Perimeter is one of the easiest of the two maps. And yeah, I found it quite interesting and strategic depending on where you are in the map. But so, we first select where we want to go.
Engaging shell monitoring software.
Now, something that's important. You'll see there is a bar increasing at the bottom. So this is something that's a bit of a stamina bar. And so it's called heat. A lot of people said they don't like it, but I thought it was so important because you have to manage this. You can't just run from one side of the map to the other. There are times you have to think about this. And also special weapons actually take heat away or technically make it less. And so you also sometimes have to understand that using a knife, it can actually stop you from being able to run if you do it at the wrong time. But also the speed of the game and the guns. I mean, come on. It's Bungie, for goodness sake. They know what they're doing. But also strategically dodging bombs and things like that. Look at this gun. Alright, so it didn't get used on this dude, but hang on, what's that? And so the UESCs or the AI in this game, they can be quite easy to figure out, but they scale. Some of the maps, they become very deadly. You just get it wrong, you're in serious trouble. So this is a little bit about the looting side of things. So it shows you some of the elements that you have. You have cores that you can get. You get these little maintenance packs that you can use. Now I thought I'd show this section here because I died, but one of my teammates is an absolute hero. Now, I forgot here that I actually have a self-revive. That happens more often than you can imagine. But you can see the other team, actually this guy is assassin. You see he makes himself invisible. See how hard it is to see. Well, my teammate behind me at the Beersy runs out of ammo, switches mid-combat to knife, Beersy the hero, and just slashes him. What an epic moment, but it just shows how one person can change the entire flow of this game. And so this is where he then revives me, and then he can go and revive. The nice thing is, even if you've been completely killed, there's a very long time for you to be able to be revived or respawned. And so here we go, we interact again with some of the AI or the UESCs. Now this is an interesting one. So here I want to show if you use one of your specials. So you'll see there, I just throw my little spider drone and boom, but it keeps damaging the enemies. So you can see they're just dying one by one. Now, each of the different shells has different powers. And so I found that, especially this one, the recon works really, really well in that regard. So here we're healing up, but as you can see, I'm immediately getting hurt, and that's because I've got a status effect on me. And so what I was doing is trying to see if I do have one of those engineering packs that can maybe remove it. But once we're healed up, we can continue with the battle. There we go. Now there's also ammo drops that you can get. There's a certain thing where the entire map will be able to see this area getting closer and closer. And so you can get cool guns, ammo, and other things. So it is worthwhile doing it, but of course the key thing here is a lot of people will know where you are. Nothing about this game is really good is parkour. The ability to run and jump. The maps have been designed in such a way that a lot of it is, it rewards momentum. It's a nice little long distance shots. And so this is where I showed one of the recon's functions where you can do a scan. Now, it doesn't directly show you exactly where everybody is, but it does highlight them in a small way. It shows just a little bit of where they might be, and so it gives you an idea, but it's not a full tracker. But then again, this game also rewards you for pushing. And so you can see here, I was just like, you know what, we're just going to keep shooting until you die, mate. And we did. Yeah, awesome gun this. Now, this is also quite interesting. So, as a team, we identified where another team was. And so we used the map and did a flank. As you can see, my teammates are on that side. I came the other way around as the sneaky, sort of tail gunner, I guess we can call it that. And so the first thing I do is identify, can they see me? And I can mark them as well. Next up, I do engage and I use my spider drone. again, the spider drone for the recon is so powerful because it seeks them out and then explodes when it gets to them. I've got a lot of kills because of the spider drone. But so there you go. They're fully engaged with the team.
Seeker deployed.
So I chuck in the Seeker, make sure they don't see me. And then as I start running from that, I clean up the pieces. So, strategic gunplay is such an important part of this game. And then they've got this thing where when you try to exfiltrate, there is a guarded exfiltration area, which means that when you activate it, it drops some UESCs, and they're quite powerful. So here as a team, we work together strategically to, as we called it, shoot fish in a barrel. And so we flanked them on both sides, and then just took them apart. That was also a really good one. And of course, it's important to see, exfiltration is an important part of this. And so it is on a countdown timer. And in the beginning, you don't have to be near it. But then what happens is it reaches sort of a critical phase, and then it's a countdown. And you have to be inside the circle to exfiltrate. And that's fascinating because what you can do is if it's the other team that's exfiltrating, you can actually hide and at the last second run and slide in. And yes, you can exfil even if you're downed. So sometimes that's the way you get out. As you can see there, transfer in 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're out. Yes. So just a little bit of gameplay showing the various elements. So I've, like I said, played this for 30 hours and I've been engaged in so many different PvP battles and PvE battles. There was one stream I did that was almost 12 hours long, and that was to get my level 30. And at that moment where I reached level 30, that for me was the most amazing moment because I started to click with the game. I had a good understanding of what the maps are, how to engage, not to just run and gun. After you've gained the upper hand, to immediately redo shields and so forth. Don't just push, try to think strategically. And so I walked away from it really, really enjoying it. But a key thing about playing games is how it makes you feel. So let's find out. All right, now let's talk about something probably a bit subjective, but still something I thought was very important, and it's how this game makes you feel. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've had some highs and I've had some lows with this game, and the lows came especially in the beginning. As you were learning how these things work, you would run into people that understood the flow of the game a lot better. But I still found that the story, the mood, the music, all of these things really, really gripped me, and it made me really love this game. And so it did make me feel really cool. But what I thought I'd do is I put a little montage of a couple of moments that were either high or low within the game, and we'll just talk a little bit about how these sections feel. So let's check it out. So there we go. As we can see here, unique moment. I've died. But we're exfiltrating. Hearts pumping, heart rate's going up. And that's euphoria, man. That's a good feeling to exfiltrate.
Are you kidding me? That was close. Nice. Well done.
And there's a lot of good camaraderie I found. A lot of people are good teammates. Now, nothing about this game is time to kill. You can die very quickly. Watch this. Bang. Dead. Insta-death. I didn't have a lot of health, as I say.
Damn. Okay, to be fair, I didn't have any health, but that was destruction immediately.
And so another cool thing about this game is how you then follow your teammates that are still alive. And so they actually give you the side camera angle, so it kind of feels, yeah, this was a legend moment. This guy, I was like, no chance he can survive against 2 people. But he just played very smart, and because he is the medic.
If our teammate makes it, no offense.
Yeah, trust me, he makes it. But the medic heals very quickly, and so you see that does give you the opportunity to fight quicker than maybe other people because they're still healing. He was so strategic on what he was doing here.
Okay, bang, he's restoring his teammate. Kill him.
But then that just
Are you
amazing
kidding me?
sensation when one of your teammates
Finish them.
manages to bring
Finish
the
them.
entire team
1,
back from the dead. So cool.
2. Oh my god, this is the freaking game of the century. No. Oh, that's it.
Exaggeration,
He's
I
healing teammate 1. Oh, wow.
What a legend.
Are you kidding me? Where did this guy come from? Are you kidding me? Wow. Okay.
And then here, this is, I did a YouTube short on this as well. There is something about the verticality of this game and being able to use the sort of parkour skills. And at this moment I was like, how do I engage this thing without being directly shot? My brain just went, hang on a moment, try this move. And it felt epic doing it. Such an amazing feeling. You can see my heart rate just spiking there. And so, again, just the sensations you get from killing things, but also reaching that exfiltration is the most amazing feeling.
What
And
a
so
run.
this
Nice.
game made me
Well
feel
done.
brilliant.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely
That
brilliant.
was probably one of the sickest runs. Like, there were so many times we were not supposed to survive that. Wow.
It was cool. And so, again, as I stress, the highs and the lows, they're sometimes far apart. What I mean by that is there are times where you can go 3, 4, 5 games without winning, and it's frustrating. What I found is you can then, if you want, switch up, go for the rook, get in. If you lose nothing. You're in it within 40 seconds. And so there's this ways to prep you up. But the cool thing is when you get the right team and you engage in the right way, even if you lose, you don't care. But also, even if you do get wiped out, the progress that you've made still counts for something. So that's never completely worthless. And so how did it make me feel? Sometimes fantastic. You know, the next day after reaching my level 30, I was beaming. And so when you lose, it's not that bad. When you win, it's amazing. So yeah, it made me feel great. So I guess we now have to get to the final section, which is, should I buy it? Let's find out. All right, so I guess now it's time to answer the question, should you buy it? Well, I think it's pretty obvious from watching this entire video that I fell in love with Marathon and fell quite hard. But hopefully some of the things I've shown you has maybe convinced you to give it a try. Again, there are quite a few negative reviews out there, but a lot of those times, those people clearly didn't invest enough time into it. And then you look at all the positive reviews, and they're almost always somebody that's gone past level 20. So, of course, Bungie is big. They're going to invest a lot into this game. They already have shown us what's coming in Season 2. The full game is going to be so much bigger than the server slam. And so, yeah, I think you should go ahead and buy it. It's also not even priced at a hardcore level. And also, microtransactions, though there will be skins and things like that, there's no play to win. So I've enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to get my hands on the full game. I'm sold. So I recommend you buy it. But of course, if you want to learn more about me, this channel, our community that we're growing, if you want to join us for some Marathon games, I've got a nice group in Discord where anytime I stream or play, I let people know, they let each other know, and that way you can always potentially find somebody to play this with. Don't be shy. Head over to nextleveljj.com. All the info you need is there, my socials, my schedule, and various other things. But then also the wonderful Stream Beats by Harris Heller has been playing through this entire video. Go check them out there on Spotify. Link should be in the description. But hey, I really enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed it too. Tell me, give me a like, tell me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And hey, we'll see you in Marathon. Ciao.